Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. With due adulterations and reverence, this is me, MIDHAT, as a co-anchor of Shared Pen Official. And as we know that Shared Pen Official always come up with something informative. In the same way, today we would be discussing on domestic violence with the luminary personality and the eminent author of Kashmir, AZRA Mufti. So let me acquaint you with her. She is the author of two books, The Tearful Pages and Shattered Dreams. Her masterstrokes are really imbued with Sisyphean emotions and triumph. I welcome you on the behalf of Shared Pen Official.
Thank you, Mida. Thank you so much for having me.
Ma'am, as we know that topic is domestic violence, so we will be talking on domestic violence wholly.
Sure.
Ma'am, kindly embrace this platform by your golden words and kindly just throw some light on domestic violence.
Yes, domestic violence is one of the most important topics, and it's very painful that even in 21st century we are talking about domestic violence, which means that how failed we are as a society and how backward we have turned into, because even in century when humans have made great achievements, technological achievements, they have landed on moon, but still women are being suppressed, women are being oppressed. And I really believe that this should stop, and a time comes when we no longer talk about domestic violence. So when we talk about domestic violence, there are different forms of domestic violence. It can be either emotional, it can be either verbal, it can be either economic, it can be physical. So in order to first talk about what are the types, in order to throw light on what we need to do, the first and the basic thing that comes under the purview of domestic violence is that women, they should know the signs. What are the signs of domestic violence? Even a small ridicule, even a taunt, even a small petty remark or harassment, that is considered to be domestic violence. So I really hope that through this platform I try to convince the people who are committing this abuse and the victims who are facing this, that they talk about it and know the signs of what a domestic violence is and how they should combat it.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I personally think that people believe on the concept of meliorism. Have what we see that people being educated are be boosted with termity, but still being educated, they are residing in slumber and are in the shambolic state. What do you think about it?
Yes, what I really believe is that this world, it constitutes of two types of people. One who believe that they have power over others, and the other part who feel that they have very low self-esteem. So I really believe that this situation can be changed when both humans, both genders, they work collectively towards the betterment of society. For example, if you are committing domestic violence, there is a theory that we call as power and control wheel theory. So it states that the person who commits domestic violence, he does not do it randomly, or it does not occur randomly. So he does it in a very planned and systematic manner. So by saying this, what I mean to put forth my point is that the people who commit the domestic violence, they really do it in a planned manner. They want to exert some kind of superiority. They want to exert some kind of power. They want to exert some kind of male chauvinism or on the victims. So it really has to do with the upbringing. It really has to do with the kind of life you had, the kind of friends you have, the kind of people you hang out with. So it really affects your psyche and how you treat the other person. So in this I really believe this should change, because people, they need to understand that women constitute a very important part of society and they should be respected no matter what.
Yes, ma'am. Recently in Kashmir, we saw that a woman was burnt malevolently alive by her in-laws in South Kashmir in the area of Patan, right? And after that, we saw a large number of demonstrations and against such crime. मैम एंड आफ्टर दैट हमने देखा कि कुछ दिनों तक तो वो बीट चली, बट उसके बाद फिर खुद ही ये बैठ गई. लाइक डेमोन्स्ट्रेशंस के बाद फिर मतलब कुछ देर तक आवाज उठी एंड वो बीट तक फिर कुछ ही देर तक रही, ज्यादा देर तक नहीं चल पाई. Why is such bestial crimes ensuing in Kashmir? Why are the vices still incarcerated within humans?
Yes, there can be a number of reasons. The first reason is that such cases now occur every day. You might have seen in Anantnag, in Patan, in Sopore, in Baramulla, in Srinagar, Gandharbal. Every day there occurs some kind of case in form of domestic violence. Most of them are not reported. Most of them are reported and still they are not provided with justice, and most of the cases go totally, they are denied of justice. So I really believe that when these cases are reported, there is a public outrage for a certain amount of time, but then it ebbs down. The reason is that you cannot expect people to fight for you. The first and the basic thing is you need to fight for yourself. Like, why are you committing a grave crime like suicide? I mean, I know there comes a point in your life when you no longer can take that shit, but you should have talked about it before taking that step. You should have talked to your partner before doing that extreme thing. So kahin na kahin the blame is upon the victim also, because why are you taking the trash? Why are you taking this shit on you? You should really talk about it. You should free yourself. You should seek financial independence, and there is absolutely no need to live in such a toxic relationship. So what I really want to say is that public outrage is there. You cannot expect others to fight for you. How long will they protest? 3 months, 4 months, 5 months? No. So what you need to do, you need to fight for yourself.
Yeah,
you should not take extreme steps. That's what should be done.
Yes, ma'am, indeed. I most often have contemplated that whenever a woman encounters such things, either she remains hushed or quiet, or the society would not permit her to raise her voice against such heinous crime. What do you think about it?
Right. It's really, as I told you also, that it's up to a woman, up to a female who experiences any kind of violence. So the first thing is you should know the signs. What are the signs of abuse? What are the different kinds of abuse? And there is nothing like that. Government does not have any kind of have not provided you with protection. There are laws that really help out for the victims who are facing any kind of violence. There is protection of women from Domestic Violence Act. There is Prevention of Dowry Act. There is Article 490A of Indian Penal Code. So all these things, laws are there, measures are there. What a female needs to do, she needs to aware herself of this thing. And education plays a very important role. By education, I do not mean literacy. For example, if you're not literate but you know about your rights, you can fight for justice. For example, you can take that person to court. You can sue him for the conduct he exhibits in front of you. So it's really about the kind of education that you have. It's really how much you want to fight. For example, if you're not in a mood to fight, you accept your destiny as it is. And in Kashmir, mostly females are told to accept their destiny. So it really depends on that. It will not stop until and unless we talk about it, until and unless the victims, they really come out strong and fight for their cause.
You know, basically in Kashmir, whenever we talk about such issue, the victim, the society especially keep jeering on a victim which have been suffered from such heinous crime. What's the issue on it?
See, people will talk. They have no better thing than to talk and not to interfere in your life, because people really enjoy. Most of the people, I'm not generalizing it. Most of the people really enjoy the trouble of others. They really want to, they really want to just mock others. They really want to take out the fun out of the people. So it's really a very sorry state of affairs that we have very double standards. For example, when we talk to a person, we will show sympathy towards the victim. Oh my God, you're suffering from domestic violence. But when we return to our homes and we talk to our family about it, what we see, ladki ki galti hai. She should not have done this. So it's really very unpleasant thing that happens in our society, especially Kashmir, that still we consider it as a stigma to file a case about your husband, to go to a court, to go to a police station. Now that people are talking about it, but unfortunately most of the females, they do not talk about it because of the fear of stigma, because of the mocking that they will be subjected to in the times to come. So I really feel that this should stop, and it can only stop when you take a stand for yourself.
Exactly, मैम. और सोसाइटी की खौफ की वजह से वो एक विमेन खुद ब खुद चुप खामोश बैठती है और खुद के लिए लड़ना बंद कर देती है, just because of the threat of society.
True, exactly. So it's up to a female how she deals with it. It's up to a woman how she takes it. Either she succumbs to the pressure or either she fights for it. So Constitution has given her rights. There are laws that really protect your dignity, and you should make use of it. You should not succumb to any pressure, and you should not yield to any sort. Ultimately, it will lead to a psychological disturbance, and you will have to take extreme steps like suicide. So in both the cases, your family will be at the extreme end, and you take these extreme steps without thinking about your loved ones, and that's very sad.
Ma'am, as you talked before that there are kind of types of domestic violence, could you please throw some light on such issue?
Right. There are different types of domestic violence. There can be verbal, there can be physical, there can be sexual, there can be psychological, there can be neglect. When we talk about physical violence, like you beat your wife, you thrash her, you just push her, you try to make it a habit that you beat her, because we have seen in India most of the beating that takes place is after a person consumes alcohol. So it's really very sad that men, they are actually the protectors of women. If you read Quran, it's clearly mentioned that men are protectors of women, and husbands and wives, they are garments of each other. So when you indulge in beating, you indulge in thrashing, that constitutes physical violence. And then we have sexual violence, like when you are committing marital rape. Then there comes psychological violence, when you're not using physical form to humiliate your wife, but you try to ridicule her, jeer her, mock her, and lower her self-esteem. That constitutes psychological violence. And then there is neglect, that you completely neglect your partner, you leave her to fend for herself, and it's also one of the violence that comes under the purview of domestic violence.
Yes, ma'am. But ma'am, why are society acting like a misanthrope? What is the issue?
It's in our the kind of upbringing we have, the kind of anti-social behavior we have, the kind of atmosphere we have had in Kashmir for the last 60 years or 40 years. It has created a very dangerous impact on our mindset. Like as you said, that we have turned to be misanthropists instead of philanthropists.
Exactly.
So the conflict that we are living in, it has badly damaged our psyche. Children are turning violent. children are turning impatient, and they're turning to be oblivious of the needs of others. So I think it's one of the reasons that people in Kashmir, they are turning to be robots instead of humans.
Ma'am, a woman is strong, and even she's the one who could raise her voice in the stifling silences. But why does she abdicate on such issue?
Yeah, it's only the quality of her mind that she is very weak. The second reason could be that she is not financially independent, and she is left to the mercy of her husband. She has no other option but to live with him. Third is that you have kids, and then you start to compromise your life just for the sake of kids. I've seen number of women who wanted to take divorce, but they remained silent just for the sake of their kids, just for the fear of society, just for the stigma. So this is what we are living in, because women, they are suppressed, and very important that sometimes their parents also disown them. They tell her to just live life like she's living. It's her problem. She should take it to heart. Husband, he has to. He is meant to do things like this, and you are meant to obey him. So these are the things that are really turning out to be a monster in our society. And silence is not any solution, because when you are silent, you are teaching your kids to be silent. You are teaching your son to just treat his wife the way you are treating your wife. So when you're living in a family, the kind of atmosphere you give to your children, it creates a long-term impression on their mind. So it's very important to have a family that respects women, that respects females, and those who teach their sons to respect and value the women in their life.
Ma'am, as we can see, this is the burning issue. But what we need to do as a women?
Right. As I told before also, first of all, what you need to do is you need to talk about it. Second is you need to understand what are the signs of the domestic violence. Third, you should never ignore those signs. Fourth, you should talk, consult, and take people into consideration, and you should not be scared of the consequences. Number 5, you should follow the laws which are enshrined in the Constitution. And number 6, you should just go for separation, or you should not live in a toxic relationship. You should just make the person realize that you are not worthy of the conduct that he is behaving with you. So you are a human first, and you have your own identity, and you have your own self-esteem, and he cannot play with it.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, although we are seeing that women are suffering from depression because they have been such victims, and they have suffered a lot, and they are inculcating this pain within themselves, right?
Right.
Ma'am, now could you please suggest us something like awareness programs and what law have enacted?
Yes, as I told before, the first law that talks about domestic violence is in Indian Constitution is Prohibition of Dowry Act, which means that you cannot claim for dowry, and if other party is involved in dowry taking, you have every right to report the cases to the police. And it's really important that you understand that what domestic violence is and how it affects your psyche. And the next is yes, I also told you about that when we talk about Domestic Violence Act that was enacted in year 2005, the Section 3 of that Act, it clearly tells that violence is not restricted to one particular thing. There can be different kinds of violence, and it's very important for every female that before you get married, you read those laws. And it's not important that before marriage also, as a person, as a male also, as a female also, you should know that what are the different punishments for the Domestic Violence Act. Then there are certain guidelines that come under the purview of domestic violence. For example, as I told before, Section 498A of the Indian Penal Code that clearly talks about the prohibition of dowry, and if you are committed under that crime, you can be fined up to, you can be jailed up to 6 months, and you can be fined with 5,000 rupees. So it's very important that you learn about Section 498 of the IPC. So these are the basic laws, protection of women against domestic violence. Then there is Section 498 of the IPC, and there is Dowry Prohibition Act in 1961. These three acts are very important when we talk about the domestic violence in India, in Indian context.
Do you think in present scenario it is ensuing in Kashmir, that dowry prohibition, if we will say?
Yeah, as we can see from the different cases that are taking place, dowry, bride burning, and then extramarital affairs, these are the main things that are taking place under the purview of domestic violence. So it's very important to keep a vigil on your partner. It's very important to have a healthy relationship, not a suppressed one. And in Kashmir also, as I told before, we are living in a conflict region. So we do have different types of conflict. So there is no need to make the society more depressed. So the people should understand, and men empowerment is, as I always say, that men empowerment is very necessary in order to empower women. जब society के मर्द ही empowered नहीं है, so we cannot expect women to grow, to glow. So they should really respect the women in their life.
Ma'am, here in Kashmir, people are very ostentatious up to a certain limit, right? Ma'am, कुछ नहीं होना चाहिए, but dowry तो होनी चाहिए. What do you think about it?
Right. Not only in dowry, ostentations is in marriages also. For example, until and unless you spend 10 lakhs on a marriage ceremony, you have that pandal, you have those useless ceremonies. I do not want to quote them as useless. They are a part of culture. But spending lakhs just on one function is by no means a same thing. For example, you have first you have thaf, then you have engagement, then you have shadi, then you have firsal, then you have spitim sal, then you have tajim sal, then you have different kinds of sal. So, and these sals, they really cost huge chunk of money, and around 35,000 females in Srinagar only are above 35 years of age, and still they are not married. So it's because of the ostentatious nature of Kashmiris that we are into ceremonies, that we really want to spend 20 lakhs on a ceremony and then only our daughter will get married. It's a hadith that the best nikah is the one that is observed with simplicity, or us nikah mein barakat bhi hoti hai. So it's time that women also realize that they should not go for unnecessary things. They should really observe their marriages in a very austere manner, and they should not believe in ostentations, because it's in our Quran Sharif also it's mentioned that ostentations in any form, pride in any form, is very detrimental for humans.
So that's indeed the veracity. But how could we eradicate such evil from the mind of people?
Education, as I told, that education is very important. You cannot altogether bring change in one day, but definitely you can do it over the time when you talk about it. For example, if God forbid somebody, my husband or anyone in my family, he commits violence on me, and then I will not talk about it. What I'm doing, I'm teaching my daughter and her daughter and her daughter to do the same. So change comes with one family. For example, if I talk about it, I'll encourage my daughter to talk about it. So the change can only be done when we, as a person, individually talk about it, and then definitely there will be a change.
But it will be in a gradual process, because
it will be gradual, but definitely there will be change.
When women are being treated as an asset, isn't it? Don't you think so?
Asset that, yeah, most cases they are turned as, they are considered an asset, and in most cases they are considered as liability. And I think the liability cause supersedes over the asset part. So it's time that women are considered as asset, not as liability.
That's indeed the veracity, ma'am. Now, please just be pleased with your words and kindly just throw some light. How can we eradicate such evil thoughts from the society, like dowry prohibition and like marital cases which are ensuing still in Kashmir?
Right. If we talk about Kashmir in particular, the first thing is that earlier we used to have Women's Commission, but then we do not have after the abrogation of Article 370. So there is just one police station, women's police station, that caters to your distress, that caters to your problems. So it's high time that a commission is set up wherein females are redirected for the justice. And then we need to have more females, lawyers, advocates who take up the cases and deliver justice without any time. And then the females, and at an individual level, females, they should really take care of the dignity. They should not be scared of the consequences. They should take a stand for themselves. They are very important. They should seek financial independence so that in case they are living in a toxic relationship, they can easily come out of it. Next, you should be very aware. For example, even if you are divorced and you have a baby, still you are entitled to a maintenance account from your husband. So you need to know it that you have been empowered by the laws. You have been empowered by Quran. You have been empowered by your religion. So you should take use of it. But first is you need to be aware about it.
That's good. But, ma'am, if we will have a look on our constitution, like as you said before, Domestic Violence Act that was published on 25th. I don't remember it properly,
2005.
But enacted officially on 2006 October 2006, right?
Okay.
Ma'am, but
Yes.
it's not valid for Kashmir.
No, after this abrogation, all the laws that are enacted at the center are applicable to the Kashmir as well, and that's why I told that we need to have a women's commission that should look after all the distress calls, that should look after all the problems. So leave aside all the laws. What I'm talking about is, in order to remove this concept of domestic violence in our society, the first thing is you need to read Quran. वहाँ पे जो laws, वहाँ पे सूरह निसा में जो सब कुछ बयान किया गया है, you should really read about it and enact those laws on ourselves. And Midhat, trust me, the more we talk about it, there is not going to be any impact, because until and unless we change our mindset.
Exactly.
So with these words, I think I have conveyed whatever I wanted to.
Yes,
so,
ma'am. You have apprised us a lot with your fathom and wisdom.
I hope that somebody listens to it, and inshallah they will just take a stand for themselves, and I hope they will come out of the distress soon.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for making this podcast more fructiferous by your words, and thank you for adding more fathom in our minds, because it is really a burning issue, and we need to contemplate on this issue as an individual level.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for marking your effulgent essence here. It means a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.